and welcome to the Everything Voiceover Podcast. My name is Justin D. Torres. The Everything Voiceover Podcast is brought to you by The Voice Realm, where only professional voice actors are listed. Today on the Everything Voiceover Podcast, we're going to take on a pretty dicey topic here, and that's how to reject jobs and keep clients. Now, to preface this, I wanted to make sure that people knew that we are talking about a client to voiceover interaction. We're not talking about middlemen here, so it's not pay-to-play sites, or you're dealing with someone who has a full view of the entire budget at hand, or maybe a production studio, or a casting director, or even the company itself. You know, the person who knows, who has the hand and budget and has the ability to make changes or definitely say yes or no to options. Now, first off, then, this is huge for dealing with voiceover clients, and this has helped me immensely as I've gone through my voiceover career, and I always try to assume the best, you know? Assume that clients are not trying to take all your talent for nothing. I mean, of course, there are people out there that are probably, skeezy and trying to get the most out of you. But, if a project has gotten to the phase where they need a voiceover talent, they probably have put in a little bit of work, and they're not trying to take your money. After all, they're just trying to get you to do work. So as non-union VO, we often feel like we're being taken advantage of, and there are some true aspects of that, and that's in all aspects of voiceover, whether it be from voiceover coaches or voiceover demo producers, and then on the other side you've got clients, and you've got pay-to-play sites that are doing shady stuff, and you've got other things that you're not sure whether or not you're being taken advantage of or not. But you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater here. There are good and bad aspects of everything, and every career and everything else. So don't be so jaded that you don't trust anyone, and don't be so naive to do every job that comes your way for free. You are doing work, you are making money, you are valued, so you want to assess each situation individually and make the best decision. Now, when we're talking about the rejection of jobs, we're talking about jobs that you have booked. But here's a caveat: you haven't done an audition or agreed upon a budget beforehand, okay? But you have booked these jobs. Now, this could be like a repeat client, someone sending you a job. They're like, oh, we love the first job, we're going to give you a second job. This could be a referred client saying that, you worked with this company. They said you were great. I saw your video. I want to hire you for this. The point is, you've gotten the job, you've been offered the job, and you have the ability to reject the job that is in hand. And we are not rejecting auditions. People reject auditions every day by not being parts of sites or by not being home when auditions happen. You can reject auditions all day. We're talking about rejecting jobs, actual paid in money hand jobs. Now, number 3, this is not for renegotiating a job that you already agreed upon a budget and a price. When a client sends you an audition and a budget, and you audition, you are auditioning for that job for that budget. The only difference is if you've got the nerve to specify somehow during the audition messages that you want to be a part of this job, but you can only do it for X amount, then the client has to agree with that negotiation as long as it's part of the audition. If you audition for a $200 job that you want for $500, if your audition for the $200 job has no message that says, I'll only do this job for $500, you are putting yourself and the client in a weird situation where, there's an agreed upon agreement between you two. So you have to kind of not do that. So this is not for renegotiation. There's no renegotiation after you audition when the client has set the terms. Now let's flip the coin in here. If this was from a client perspective, what if you audition for a job that was $5,000, say, and you get the job, and then the guy says, "Oh, I can only afford $1,000 for it." Can you do it still? That's the same thing about auditioning for a $100 job, getting it, and asking for $200. The only difference is if you specify after the audition. You want to specify during the audition to make sure that you and the client are communicating correctly. Now would be a good time to say the Everything Voiceover Podcast is brought to you by the Voice Realm, where only professional voice actors are listed. Okay, now we've gotten to the point where you've got the job. You are jumping up and down. Somebody has contacted you, say, I really want you for this job. And maybe they didn't give you a budget, or they did give you a budget. But in this particular case, since you're rejecting it, they've given you a small budget. Maybe you even did a callback round and you weren't sure, maybe this was a bigger budget, but it wasn't. It's a smaller budget. So you're feeling it and you feel like they want you for it. So there's only 3 possible downsides to when you get an infamous budget offer. Number 1, the budget is much lower than you're used to. Number 2, the budget is the same as you're used to, but you've raised your prices for any number of reasons. And number 3, the budget is higher than you expected, but it's not high enough to reach your original standards for doing the job. And this could be things like audiobooks, and it's especially huge with audiobooks because people realize when they first done their audiobook how much money they're willing to take to do an audiobook. I've found that I could probably only do an audiobook for $300 to $400 per finished hour because it takes a long time. And even then, I feel like that's kind of pushing it. I'd love to have it even more than that, to be perfectly honest. But you have to figure out what your budget is. Now that you've got this job and it's just a little bit under the mark, and you really like this client because they like you, and you don't want to insult them and send them reeling and make them feel bad, and they don't want to make you feel bad like they insulted you, so you want to give them the option to do better, and you want to make sure that they know that you understand their process. So here's a good template to go by when you are reacting and replying to the job that didn't really hit the mark. First off, you want to address the positives. You want to thank them for giving you the option of a job. Thank you for thanking them for the job. Be excited that you wanted to work with them. Think of every possible aspect of the job. There's like, I'm so glad that you contacted me. This kind of communication is great. Thank you so much for the offer. I would love to come on board. And then you address the negatives. But unfortunately, let's say my budget is slightly lower than my rate, especially if it's, if they're almost to the mark of being recordable. If they are way below the mark, it says then don't try and downplay the slightly. Just say unfortunately this budget is too low. You want to downplay it if they're close. If they're close, you want to downplay it. You want to say something like, unfortunately, this is not quite. This is slightly below than my minimum rate. And then after you've done that, you've said the negative, then you go back to the positive. Tell them why. Tell them why your rate is higher, or why you value your work just a little bit more than this particular budget. And that could be, tell them about the new microphone you've got. Tell them about the reviews you got. Tell them about working with certain clients. Tell them about how booked you are and how you wish you could work with them. But, you'd have to prioritize their job and put their job in front of someone else. And unfortunately, they need, there needs to be monetary value. And I can't put you in front of, let's say, MasterCard, Not necessarily lie, but I'm saying that you want to address the positives. Like, this is the reason why. And after you've addressed all the reasons why you are definitely worth the money that you are worth, you have to address that you understand their plight. That you understand that there are budgets. That you understand there are lower budget things, and clients are, you may be just testing out a market, and that's totally cool. And, these are understand that their budgets are budgets. You can't budge. But, also take a look for this is a big pitfall for people. Also take a look at where they're putting the job. If we're talking about internet jobs, no big deal. But if we're talking about radio broadcast, and if we're talking about TV broadcast, and if we're talking about national, if you see national, make sure it's worth your time. Oh my God, don't give away a national commercial unless you know It is unless it's a big money job. So, and that's address that you understand that their budget is their budget. But, if, be aware that if someone puts a national project out there for like $250, don't even audition for it. That's my recommendation to all you. Don't even audition for anything that's under $2,000 or $1,000. Even $1,000 is pretty low for a national budget. So, yeah, just make sure that you understand. You tell them that you understand that budgets are budgets, and then talk alternatives. Tell them, that there are if you have a fellow voiceover actor that's newer, that's definitely starting out, you can refer them to them. There's nothing wrong with being useful to the client right off the bat. The other thing is absolutely talk about your price point. Tell them what you would do, what they would have to do to get you to do their job. If it's $200, say $200. If it's an extra $400, if it's way off bat, and they want to do a national commercial for $250, I honestly, it's a minimum of $2,000 for a national commercial, unfortunately. Welcome the opportunity for them to work with them on other jobs, because a lot of agents and a lot of casting directors, a lot of production companies, they have small jobs and then they have big jobs. So you don't know who you're talking to. This person doesn't always deal with lower budgeted jobs. So just tell them, it's like, hey, if it doesn't work out for this one, you can always message me. Feel free to message me for auditions for any higher budgeted jobs. I would love to work with you soon. I hope to work with you very soon. And that's a good thing. Be okay with you want to give them alternatives, and then reiterate over and over again that they can message you anytime for auditions or jobs. Now, too many times we take these lower budgeted clients as enemies. They are not enemies. They are just human beings. If you're a non-union voiceover artist and your budgets for jobs are lower and you're accepting like $100 audition, you're telling people out there, hey, I don't have the microphone. That's really great, but I can do the job. So please take it. It's the same with these guys putting out their jobs for $100 or saying, hey, I don't have a company behind me. I'm trying to do this. Maybe I'm a student. I only have this amount of money. Hopefully you can do it. I mean, that's not an enemy thing to do it. Everyone starts out somewhere. Yeah, like I said, there are pitfalls of, like, if you see a national commercial or if you see something huge, then that's different, and it's a whole different ball game when you're dealing with a middleman at a pay-to-play site. Then you don't know what's going on because you don't know where the piece of the pie has been taken earlier. So it's important to keep a good head on your shoulders and stay positive with the clients. Many times I've had clients say something like, I'll message you when a larger client comes this way, and that's awesome. Or they'll be like, oh, I actually have a bigger job coming in that might be perfect for you. I'll message you then. Awesome. Positivity is all the rave nowadays, and it works perfect with any clients, especially clients where you're dealing with this weird thing where you have to reject a job. On the other hand, you may also get these weird clients that seem very manipulative. Well, they'll say like, well, if you do it for me here, it'll be shown everywhere. You'll get publicity, which is always, it's as good as money. And that's a bad idea. Nope, not a bad idea. And remember, you already are doing it for the minimum. So the minimum is not for you to negotiate. It's your minimum. It's the minimum amount of work that you're going to put in, and it's your baseline. So don't undercut your own baseline, and definitely keep an eye on jobs that are worth a heck of a lot more. If they can afford regional radio broadcasting, then they can afford an extra $100 or so. It's no big deal. You may actually have clients say something like, if you do this for me now, there'll be a lot more jobs ahead. No, it's a bad idea. Those jobs ahead will be exactly the same price as the jobs you're doing now. I had a wonderful client that I was a part of, and unfortunately it was just $50 and $75 jobs. And he would ask for redos multiple times, and I'd have to tell him, the redo is going to cost just as much as the job. And unfortunately, he had to say, he's like, listen, this is like lower budgeted type stuff. Do you still want to work with me? And I said, listen, if it's higher budgeted things, I would love to work with you. But unfortunately, this may not be, a good fit for me at this moment. And, if it moves on to bigger and better things, I'm there for you 110%. And that's fine. That's honesty. Honesty is the best policy when dealing with clients. I think there's nothing wrong with that. But don't put out a bait of like there'll be more jobs ahead. It's kind of like me saying, "Oh, I'll charge you $2,000 for this 30-second voiceover, but if you hire me for this one, I'll do $500 voiceovers in the future." So you can just you can hold me to that. It's a ripoff, and there's no reason for us to do it. And unfortunately, we can't, you can't work with those people again. And and the thing is, like these type of clients who are doing that, if they're like, oh, I won't work with you again, that's fine. You have to. There are good clients out there. 99% of clients out there are good. They give you a good wage, and they're not trying to pull one over on you. I can honestly say that if someone's creating a film and they want to put a VO on it and they actually want a good one, they're going to pay the money that's needed to be paid to make a good product. Because it's a waste of time to do otherwise. And it's a thing. The thing is, we're not. And the thing is, on the other hand, you want to be able to tell people that you want to be able to tell people your price point and communicate that during this whole entire email. And the reason why you do that is because you're not fishing for like a budget. It's stupid of you of a person to be like, it's a little too low a budget for me, and then not say what your budget is, and have to get them to be like, well, what is the budget? It's like, no, you're not fishing for higher budgeted projects. If you're dealing with these weirdos who are doing national projects for less than $500, then you might be like, well, where is it going? How far is it going to be broadcast? What is the project's full budget? Like how much are you paying for it to be on NBC? Like those kind of things but you rarely get those kind of clients anyway, and I don't want to shift all this positivity into a negative aspect, but the point is you want to tell them your price point sometime during the email. To what exactly do you need? And because it's easy for them you want it to be as easy for them to say yes as it is to say no, you know, and if it's and if it's gotten to the point where it's so low, don't undercut your point to try and negotiate the price point that you want it to be. You want it to be the price point that you want it to be. If they're doing $100 per finished hour for a audiobook and you can only do it for $500, don't middle it at $250, because you'll kill yourself, because that guy's pushing forth the effort to do it. You don't really want to do it. You feel like you're getting ripped off. Tell him it's a $500 per hour audiobook thing, if that's your rate. And then he'll be like, oh, I didn't realize it was that much. Maybe I can do it. And if you get the job, then not only will you feel appreciated by this client who is putting forth the money that you want, but that when you do the job, you can do the job happy. You can not feel like you're wasting any time or doing on anyone any favors. This is a business. This is not favors. This is not friends. This is not fun. You are running a business. Now, if you have any questions about rates or what kind of rate should you have, feel free to check back on the Everything Voiceover Podcast, because we have a podcast on rates, and check out that info. Voiceover is a wild west, and you'll make mistakes. We all make mistakes. I make mistakes, and that's fine. The point is, you want to learn from them, and you want to not burn every bridge. Try not to burn bridges at all. Be positive. Even there are clients that I would have loved to work with as I got bigger and better, but unfortunately I don't. But I still hold them in my heart as being very good clients. And I'm sure with these new people that are coming in, they're probably finding great clients that are, not high budgeted. I've done little tiny video games that were like little hidden item games where my horrible voiceover is on there, that I still hold dear in my heart because it's cool, and you don't want to burn bridges unless they're bridges that are not worth anything. Then you can burn those bridges all you want, and you can usually tell when you feel like you're being manipulated here and there. So, and honestly, I've done hundreds upon hundreds of jobs. I have never really felt that way about very much any client. I've felt like I've been pushed around a little bit, but no, not even that's pretty rare. Okay, that has been the podcast for how to reject clients, how to reject jobs, and keep clients. My name is Justin D. Torres. Be sure to head on over to everythingvoiceover.com and check out our website, or go to Everything V, which is on Twitter, and follow us there. Thank you guys so much for listening. The Everything Voiceover Podcast is brought to you by The Voice Realm, where only professional voice actors are listed. Thank you guys so much for listening. Have a great night.